Okay, now let's talk about preparing for the interview. See, once you get the call for the interview, the next thing that you have to do is prepare for it. Now, believe me, you can never over prepare for an interview. The more prepared you are, the harder it will be to make mistakes, and you won't be as nervous. And it is best to prepare yourself emotionally as well as intellectually for an interview. Giving a great interview is not as hard as some may think, but not as easy as others do either. So I'm going to give you a few things that must be done in order to prepare for your next interview. Now remember, during an interview, you are a salesperson. You are there to sell yourself to your prospective employer. You want to market yourself in the most interesting way possible. Great preparation for the interview is your best bet. See, a salesperson that is knowledgeable, friendly, and positive always gets the close. Now, it really doesn't matter how much knowledge or experience you have about the position that you are trying to get in a company if you don't have a clue who the company is or what they do. It is disastrous to enter into an interview and not be able to tell your interviewer what their company is about. How else are you going to tell them why you feel that you would be a good addition to their company if you don't know anything about them? Now, a good and less time-consuming way to get to know about a company is just to look up their website. You can get all the general knowledge about them that way, and also you can usually get the names of key people and their job titles. Now, we're going to get to that a little more later too. You should sift through most of their pages, including the pages that show samples of their work and their products, whatever it is they do. Now, you can also look them up in the media files, if there are any. You can read articles about them and soak in as much information as possible. Another thing that would be nice to do is to check out the surrounding area around the company. You know, it makes for a nice breaker during the interview just to chat about that. You can make a comment about a particular monument or a resting place nearby, or maybe there's a sweet park with a pond, anything. Now, a trickier way to get a little extra information about the company is to just call them on the phone and ask general questions without referring to yourself as a potential employee. It's a nice way to get the goods, if you will, on upcoming promotions, etc. Now, this one again is tricky, but it's an absolute must, and you just need to know the contact. See, when called for an interview, ask to whom you will be talking to. It is nice to be able to greet your interviewer by name at the beginning of the interview without first being told who they are. It shows that you are on top of things and have prepared beforehand. You'll also want to do some research on the person that will be conducting your interview. If you can't do that ahead of time, at least notice what's hanging on the walls in his office. Learn what they do for the company and try to get some samples of their work or achievements in the company. It will also be important for you to know if they work in the department you are applying for, or if they are in HR doing the screening interviews. See, this particular point plays a big role in determining the personality type you are meeting with. Now, again, the second half, there's a lot more on that one. Now, let me give you another personal insight. I met with a man that ran a savings and loans company once. There were three of us meeting with him, and I was there to observe. I was doing some consulting work for a company, so I was more of an observer than anything else. They were interested in how their employees, their representatives, they really weren't salespeople, but they were selling the company, if you will, to prospective clients. Anyway, we went into this meeting, and it was a large, typical office that you would expect for a president of a savings and loan to occupy. He had a lot of things on his credenza behind him, family pictures and so forth, a lot of things to take in. But on the wall over here was a huge framed award that he had received from a civic group. And I kept glancing at that as I observed the people I was there to observe and how they interacted with him. They did everything right. They were friendly. They were very knowledgeable. They made sure he knew why they were there. He made sure they made sure that he understood their company and what their position in the company was, and they were very articulate. And we were reaching the point in the interview where I could tell he was going to stand up and say goodbye to us. He'd heard it. It meant something to him, but it wasn't something that really, it was out of his department, if you will. And there was a bit of a break, and so I said, before we leave, I just need to know more about that achievement award on your wall. And his face just lit up, and he took over the conversation, and it took him about 20 minutes to explain everything that he had done in order to, and he wasn't trying to seek the award. It was some volunteer work that he had done that then he was recognized for, and how much he appreciated that. And then he said, I want you to either stay for a few minutes now and meet with my department head that will be working with your company, or I can make an appointment for you to come back later. That depends on you, but I really want you to meet with that person. Now, I'm convinced that that would have never happened had we not had that personal connection suddenly. He needed that, and most people do. You can talk features and benefits all day long if you're a salesperson, and that's most important. But what's even more important is to connect personally somehow. HR, it's a little harder. All they're doing there is screening, but you can still make that connection somehow if you work at it. See, if you know what department that you are going to work in, well, then you may want to get the names of your potential colleagues and superiors prior to the interview as well. It might help even in an HR interview to be able to drop some names. This way, you can get some information about their roles, even from the HR person, in case you get that second interview. Okay, see, you want to be able to mention some of the things that you learn about potential colleagues in the interview, and about how much you look forward to working with them in the future, because you understand their personalities now, and you can explain that. Now, if you can, give an example of their work so that you will appear more sincere. Now, I know this sounds like an awful lot of effort and a lot of time, but how badly do you want your job?